Purim Challenge 2. The second part of our Purim puzzle is a Gemara in Shabbos, Peches 88, which says that when the Jewish people received the Torah at Mount Sinai, it says, "Vayisyatzvu betachti sahar." They stood under the mountain. And the Gemara says, Amar Rab Avdimi bar Chama bar Chasa Malamed Shekafa HaKadosh Baruch Hu Aleim HaSahar Kigigis. Hashem turned the mountain over their heads. V'amar lehem Imatem mekabli ma'Torah mutav. If you receive the Torah, good, terrific. V'imlav sham tiek v'raschem. And if you don't accept the Torah, then I will drop this mountain, this inverted mountain over your heads, Mount Sinai on your heads, and you will die here. Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov. Rav Acha bar Yaakov says, Mikan modar Rabbi Laisa. This is a duress. If Hashem forced them by keeping the mountain over their heads and said, do you want the Torah? And they said, yes. Is this not an acceptance under duress? And any contract under duress, if someone holds a threat over your head and says, sign this contract, or makes you confess to something under threat, that's not a valid confession. That's not a valid acceptance. That's a defense against having to perform that contract. It is a voidable contract. It's a void contract. So that Hashem put the mountain over our heads and forced us to keep the Torah, isn't that a voidable contract? He forced us. So the Maharal explains, and many Meforshim, the Rishonim speak about it. Tosfos speaks about it. The Maharal explains that the clarity of Hashem's presence, of the splitting of the sea, the 10 plagues, you see, it's Mitzrayim, was so clear, it was as if Hashem placed the mountain over their heads. Meaning their free choice was very limited. It was still free choice, but it was so limited because they were so close to Hashem, so clearly saw Hashem's hand, that it was an open miracles, and therefore it was as if, not that he actually put the mountain over their heads, but it was such a clear relationship of hashgacha pratis, of divine open miracles, that it was as if Hashem placed the mountain over their heads. Nevertheless, the Gemara goes on to say that even if, on a literal level, Hashem put the mountain over their heads, af al pichein, even though they may have accepted the Torah under duress because the mountain was over their heads at Mount Sinai, but there was a time that they did accept the Torah willingly. Af al pichein hadur kiblua b'mei Achashverosh. But they accepted the Torah a second time, this time willingly, at the time of Achashverosh. Dichsiv, as it says in the Megillah, Kimu v'kiblu ha-Yehudim. Kimu, they established, v'kiblu, they accepted this holiday called Purim. Kimu v'kiblu ha-Yehudim, says the Gemara, Kimu mashe kiblu kfar. They established, they kept what they already had accepted. So since we accepted the Torah once, but under duress, now at Purim time, because of Achashverosh and the miracle, we accepted the Torah willingly. So even if the Torah was taken under duress the first time, at Matan Torah at Har Sinai, notwithstanding the explanation of the Maharal and Tosfos, nevertheless, even if you might think that there is duress in giving the Torah on Mount Sinai with a mountain over their heads, there was a time when we accepted the Torah willingly, and that was Bimei Achashverosh. Says Rashi, 4 words. Says Rashi, Bimei Achashverosh, the Jewish people accepted the Torah in the days of Achashverosh. Me ahavas hanes shena'as alehem. Because of the love of the miracle that was done for them by Hashem, they accepted the Torah willingly. Listen to those words again. Bimei Achashverosh, says Rashi, Me ahavas hanes, because of the love of the miracle, shena'as alehem, that was done for them. Asks my Rabbi Rav Moshe, What do you mean, ahavas hanes? Do you love miracles? We don't love miracles. I love this miracle more than that miracle. What do you mean, ahavas hanes? What is Rashi saying? We don't love miracles, says Rav Moshe. We love the outcome of the miracles. We love the result of the miracles. As a result of the miracles of going out of Egypt, we became free. We love being free. We don't love the miracle. We don't love miracles. As a result of the miracle, we got saved. As a result of the miracle of the Be'er, of the well of Miriam, we had water. I don't love the Be'er. I love the water. I love the outcome. Because of the man, because of the manna that fell, I was able to eat. I love the outcome of the miracle. I don't love the man. I love the outcome of the miracle. What's mi ahavas hanes? The love of the miracle. So the answer is that Purim, the masquerade, when we wear masks, costumes on Purim, what we're hiding in Purim is the natural events of Purim seem natural, seem ordinary. You have a feast of the king Achashverosh. We have the deposition of the queen Vashti. She's deposed. We have a decree passed by the king, approved of by Haman, that the king can make a decree by himself without the nobleman's approval, which means there was a decree by King Achashverosh of totalitarianism. Until then, the king had to pass a decree which was agreed to by the 7 members of parliament, the 7 members around him, the 7 noblemen around him. The king could not make a decree. There was a check and balance on the king. He couldn't pass a decree without the consent of the 7 noblemen around the king. But since he passed this letter, the letter that was sent out that said that every man should be king in his house and speak in his own language, and the king is allowed to make that decree without the consent of the 7 noblemen around him, including Haman, that allowed the decree later of Achashverosh to execute Haman without the consent of the other noblemen. But because of that decree, that led to the downfall of Haman later. But it seems like an innocuous decree. It's an event, a decree. The king made a decree, a new law. The king can pass a law without checks and balances. Seems ordinary. Esther was chosen. Seems random. Mordechai uncovers a plot. Seems random. Instead of Haman being paraded throughout the streets, it was Mordechai. Seems like a fortuitous event. The invite of Esther, of inviting Achashverosh and Haman to the feast, and then a second feast, and then the gallows of Haman, prepared for Mordechai, which was turned upon him, and he was executed. Seems like ordinary political intrigue. Hashem's name is not found in the Megillah. But at the end of the story, you realize this could not have happened by happenstance. This was not an Amalekite, an Amalek happenstance randomness. It was guided throughout, from the beginning to the end, by Hashem. And that's why we wear masks. We wear costumes, because we're hiding the concept, we're hiding Hashem's hand in the story of the Megillah. And Hashem's name does not appear in the Megillah. And we're playing a hide and seek with Hashem to look for Hashem's hand. It's our job to find Hashem's hand in the Megillah. And that's why when we have 2 Adars, Adar Aleph and Beis, so we have Purim in the 2nd Adar. Why, says the Gemara? To connect Purim with Pesach. As this year we have Purim in Adar and Nisan, we have Pesach. They're connected. But if you have 2 Adars, Adar Aleph and Beis, in a leap year, the halacha is we make Purim in the second Adar, to connect Purim with Pesach. Why? Because the connection of Purim to Pesach is because Purim is a story of hidden miracle, and Pesach is a story of open miracle. The open miracles of the splitting of the sea, the 10 plagues in Kriyas Yamsuf and Yetzias Mitzrayim, it's open miracle. But the hidden miracles must be connected to the open miracles. And that's called Ahavas Hanes, says Rav Moshe. The love of the miracle is, it's very hard to find open miracles in our lives. We had open miracles, Matan Torah and Har Sinai, the splitting of the sea, the 10 plagues, Yetzias Mitzrayim, the well of Miriam, the man, the clouds of glory, open miracles. But we don't live on open miracles. They happen to Klal Yisrael, and that's enough for us to guide the rest of our lives on the emunah of those miracles. Those were necessary for us to be guided by Hashem. But we don't live on that level. We live on the everyday miracle in our lives of breathing, of seeing, of walking, of having a mishpacha, a family, of children, of mishpachas, of grandchildren, of living our lives daily. And since Purim was such a miracle of everyday life, that Hashem's hand was found in every life, that's the meaning of the love of the miracle, the Ahavas Hanes, that they were able now to accept the Torah because the Torah also applies in everyday life. It doesn't only apply in Pesach with open miracles, but it also applies in everyday life, in the hidden miracle of everyday life, in the hidden mystery, in the hidden mystery of everyday life, in finding Hashem's hand in everyday life. That is the love of the miracle. So the miracle is to find God's hand in everyday life, in ordinary life, in the magic of your hand being able to close on your fork, on your spoon, be able to cook a hamantashen, be able to eat and digest and to speak and to think and to interact and to connect and to love and to hear and to, that's a miracle. And that's what we love, because we can relate to that. It's hard to relate to the open miracles, but the hidden miracles, the everyday miracles, that is something that we love, because we can love to live life. We love life. And we love the everyday miracle of life. And that's the meaning, says Rav Moshe, of Me'ahavas Hanes, of the love of the miracle. We accepted the Torah a second time at Purim, in the days of Achashverosh. Me'ahavas Hanes shenas alehem. That is living with God every day. That is the love of living with God every day, is the idea of we accepted the Torah because we want to have Hashem in our lives every day.